want to start with the 49ers defense then. The best in the business going up against the best in the business. Something's got to give with the 49ers D taking on Patrick Mahomes, or vice versa, whichever way you look at it.
Right? How lucky are we of this matchup, right? You have strength on strength. And you're right, San Francisco is the best defense in the league, and that's because they have the best defensive line. If your front four is that dynamic, you cause havoc. And that is your only hope against Patrick Mahomes. This guy is magic. He creates those secondary plays, those second reaction plays, and throws the ball down the field for huge chunks of yardage. And the only way you slow that down is with a dominant defensive line.
Great defensive line, great secondary as well. The number one pass D in the NFL. And Richard Sherman leading by example. 46.8 is the passer rating against Sherman this season, which tells you a lot. And sometimes those stats are misleading. In this case, absolutely not. What a season he's having.
You know why he's so good too, Nat? It's because of his football IQ. When you are a cornerback and you understand the pressure your defensive line is bringing, you have an internal clock in your head. You know when the ball is supposed to be thrown. And he knows that and understands that and teaches the rest of the secondary. Don't panic. The ball has to come out quicker in certain situations. That's why he's had so much success.
He's also a great character, isn't he? And he's being reasonably outspoken once again this week because he had a few landing spots that he could have gone to, and the 49ers glad that he chose San Francisco. But he said there are some teams he passed on because he didn't like their, I think the Belichickian way, the Patriots way is what he said, so, which is, what we want to see from Sherman in the build-up to the Super Bowl, unequivocal. Calling it how it is, right?
Listen, Sherman can say whatever he wants because he has all the criteria and checked all the boxes during his career.
It's a strong unit. Notably, you look at Akella Witherspoon being benched. That tells you how strong this unit is. So the 49ers, despite the fact they're going up against this high-octane offense with all kinds of weapons that we'll get into on the Chiefs, they're gonna fancy their chance in terms of that matchup, aren't they?
Yeah, and they had to bench him because he was losing confidence, especially when he came back after injury. But yeah, I mean that unit, they run that zone concept defense, but they like to match up in man-to-man coverage in those zones, and they have a great grasp of it, and they run it very, very good because their defensive coordinator is teaching them well.
Oh, speaking of which, were you surprised Robert Saleh didn't get a head coaching gig? I mean, he was apparently in line or in the frame for the Browns job, but some people are saying, well, they'd already decided on Stefanski. That was an exploratory interview. I think a lot of people are surprised that he wasn't prized away, and certainly the 49ers, to their benefit, that he wasn't taken.
I know, I'm surprised, but Kyle Shanahan is very happy that he's not gone because they have something special going on, and he wants to stick with him for as long as possible.
In terms of the Chiefs' offense against the pass D, really good piece by a writer called Scott Gielan, who talked about teams that have had success against the Chiefs this season. And he picked out the LA Chargers and said one of the reasons they've had, relatively speaking, success defensively was they removed the over-the-middle option. Mahomes' sweet spot, Hill and Kelsey in particular. That is where the 49ers can make some ground against Kansas City.
Yeah, and they're similar defenses, right? That same kind of cover three zone concept. And the reason you do that is you do a thing, you spot drop. You know where he's going to go with the ball. You know the area. So you drop your underneath defenders in there and cause traffic, right? It's like driving a car. You want to avoid traffic at all times. So that's what they try to do, and they try to prevent his first read across the middle and make it difficult for him. But that's when he does those second reaction plays.
That is our poll, incidentally, at the NC show. Can the 49ers D stop Patrick Mahomes? That's a question everybody's asking this week. The pass rushes you outlined, J. Bell, really significant, and they're doing it with four, which means they don't have to blitz. But when they blitz, they're successful with that as well.
Yeah, it's the option, the changeup, and that's what they have. When they know they have to get off the field, that is when they bring an extra defender and put that immediate pressure on Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes is the complete article, isn't he? I mean, he's got a big arm, he's mobile, he's football smart, and he's fearless as well.
Yeah.
Does he have a weak link?
I mean, right now his weakness is not winning a Super Bowl at this point. But, what he's done is, that year under Alex Smith, I think really helped him cerebrally break down the game and understand how to manage it because he's out there and he knows exactly what's happening during the game and what he has to execute to get his team back in the game. And he does that whether it's on the field or on the sideline.
Are you surprised at, looking at where Mahomes went in the draft and Lee Steinberg, his agent, I remember having a conversation with him on my radio show, And Steinberg, of course, because it's his client, was hyping it up and saying this guy is the real deal. And at the time I thought, Lee Steinberg has seen a lot of great quarterbacks. He's represented a lot of great quarterbacks. Maybe there's something in this. But I don't think anybody saw this player coming, did they?
I mean, you just don't know, right, coming out of college because of the system that they're in. So it's always a thing where you have to go out and look in the future and say, how is this player going to be? But the thing about Patrick Mahomes is arm talent. You know, his dad was a pitcher in baseball, and the way he can throw the ball from all these different angles and platforms is amazing, like a shortstop. And that is his skill. You just can't coach that. That's what makes him so elite.
The 49ers have had problems with mobile quarterbacks this season, I think it's fair to say. They have allowed the third most rushing yards to quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, players that have that in their arsenal, seem to make hay against this 49ers D. So something else for them to be thinking about.
Yeah, this is a different level of mobility, right? Lamar Jackson is on a whole different level.
Where's Mahomes in relation to him in that respect?
I mean, they're not even the same kind of guy as far as mobility. But what Mahomes does is he creates time to throw the ball down the field, and that is dangerous.
In terms of the weapons here for the Chiefs, there are so many of them. And then you throw Andy Reid in the mix, one of the greatest innovators the game has ever seen. Which of Mahomes' weapons do you think is going to cause the 49ers defense the most trouble?
I think it's Travis Kelce. And the reason why is the way they use him, they line him up, predicates to Pat Mahomes what defense they're playing. They use him as that kind of chess piece, which gives him an advantage of knowing if they're in man or zone coverage because they like to do that. And then who are you going to cover him with? You know, a safety, a linebacker, it's always a mismatch.
What do you think that balance will be? Because as you say, the 49ers typically in zone, but when they've played man this season, a lot of points have been given up. The Saints, when they played more man than zone. The Rams game as well, they were doing that. So that's a conundrum for them to work out, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and they're going to play man on 3rd and short because you have to. And that's when they got to get off the field. They got to get physical with the receivers and make sure they give time to that D-line to get there because that's when they have to win in man coverage.
Hope you enjoyed the Nat Coombs Show presented by Paddy Power Fantasy. There's plenty more where that came from. Just click subscribe to ESPN UK and you won't miss a trick.